Donald Trump is not handling things very well after the Indiana State Senate rejected Donald Trump's attempt to gerrymander and rig the maps in Indiana. Donald Trump, though, now claims in an Oval Office press conference that just wrapped up that he never really cared about Indiana gerrymandering. This was never a big deal. He didn't put a lot of priority into it. I'll fact check that in a moment. But watch how pathetic and weak Donald Trump looks after losing his attempt to rig the Indiana map. Here, let's play this clip.
In Indiana, just a few moments ago, the Senate there rejected the congressional maps to redistrict in that state. A number of Republicans voted against that redistricting effort. You have spent a lot of time talking about this. The Vice President traveled to Indiana. What's your reaction?
Well, we won every other state. That's the only state. It's funny because I won Indiana all 3 times by a landslide, and I wasn't working on it very hard. Would have been nice. I think we would have picked up 2 seats if we did that. You had one gentleman, the head of the Senate, I guess, Bray, whatever his name is. I heard he was against it. He'll probably lose his next primary, whenever that is. I hope he does, but because he's done a tremendous disservice. I mean, think of it. It's a great place. I love the people there. They love me. You know, we won in a landslide all 3 times. Got tremendous votes. I got record votes. And then there's no reason for doing that. And the Democrats do it to us, so I can't imagine that they do it. But I wasn't very much involved. But there's a man named Bray, as I guess, head of the Senate. Was that Bray? Is that the name? Bray? I mean, I'm sure that whenever his primary is, it's, I think, in 2 years, but I'm sure he'll go down. He'll go down. I'll certainly support anybody that wants to go against him.
Now, let me come with receipts, as we always do here on the MeidasTouch Network. And a reminder, hit subscribe and help us get to 6 million subscribers. You may think you're subscribed to this channel, but just double check. You know we're under attack from the Trump regime. They want to shut this YouTube channel down. So make sure you hit subscribe right now. I've counted, I don't know, nearly half a dozen posts that Donald Trump has made on social media threatening Indiana lawmakers if they didn't adopt the map, and they rejected it. Donald Trump posted back on November 18th, I'm working with Governor Mike Braun and other Indiana Republicans on picking up 2 Republican congressional seats. The governor, a good man, must produce on this, or he will be the only governor, Republican or Democrat, who didn't. Then he goes and blabbers on more there. Or November 17, 2025, I will strongly be endorsing against any state senator or House member from the great state of Indiana that votes against the Republican Party and our nation by not allowing for redistricting for congressional seats in the United States House of Representatives. Here's another one from the same day. In the entire United States of America, Republican or Democrat, only Indiana Republican State Senator Rod Bray, a complete and total rhino, is opposed to redistricting for purposes of gaining additional seats in Congress. Or this one, very disappointed in Indiana State Senate Republicans led by rhino Senators Rod Bray and Greg Good for not wanting to redistrict their state, allowing the United States Congress to perhaps gain 2 more Republican seats. And then, of course, after the Indiana State House voted for the rigged maps before it went to the Senate, Donald Trump posted, congratulations to Indiana's tremendous Republican state representatives, led by its great Speaker Todd Houston and others. Then it goes on to say, it was my honor to win Indiana 6 times. The Indiana Senate must now pass this map, as is, and get it to Governor Mike Braun's desk ASAP to deliver a gigantic victory for Republicans in the Hoosier State and across the country. I'm hearing that these 9 senators, some who are up for re-election and some in 2028, need encouragement to make the right decision. So you see what he's saying there. Then the Heritage Foundation, which has their own political action group, says that if they didn't adopt, it's an arm of the Trump regime, they're the ones who drafted Project 2025. Before the vote, they said if the Indiana State Senate does not adopt Donald Trump's gerrymandered maps, then Donald Trump, they said, will not give any federal funding to Indiana. Their roads won't get paved. Their bridges won't get fixed. They won't get disaster relief. This is what Trump and Heritage Foundation was pushing. Donald Trump also sent J.D. Vance to go to Indiana. You had Don Jr. making posts about threats to Indiana. Donald Trump was all in on the threat over and over and over again. And then you had these Trump MAGA state senators who were pushing this. They were out there screaming today. Like, look at this state senator Garden. He's a MAGA guy. Here's what he had to say. Play this clip.
Some will say these maps are political. Let me be clear. You're damn right they are. Political policy is political.
And ultimately, the map was rejected 31-19. Trump's gerrymander rejected, wasn't even close. The MAGA Republicans faction in the Indiana Senate lost, and the Republicans there stood up to Donald Trump. So then here's a MAGA Congress member, by the way, Marlin Stutzman, MAGA Republican Congress member, okay, from Indiana, okay? And he is asked by Jake Tapper, so do you support not funding your state, not paving the roads because your state did not agree to Trump's gerrymander? And he basically says, yeah, dude, you are the Congress member from Indiana, and you're saying that your state should be defunded for not rigging the maps for Donald Trump? This is how delusional these people are. Here, play this clip.
To me, this is a team vote. This is one of those where it's like, you know what? This is the Republican Party. We're sticking together. And, the Democrat Party, they're doing the same thing in their states. I think it's unfortunate overall that this is even part of the conversation that we're having to have, and that policy decisions are being made over the redistricting efforts. But there should be some sort of national standard, but there's not. And that's why I'm really disappointed. I think it was a terrible decision.
So do you think, as Heritage Action suggested should happen now, that all federal funding should be cut from Indiana? Do you think that you should not have money to pave the roads in Indiana? You shouldn't have money to fund the guard bases in Indiana? Because that is what the administration was suggesting. Presumably you now support that.
We have a lot of projects that we've been working on in Indiana. And look, we know that, just like in business, you work with people who work with you. And, President Trump asked for this. Mike Johnson, Speaker Johnson, he put a ton of time making phone calls. There was pushing, pulling, and some of the excuses, there was no good excuse that I heard other than this just breaks precedent, or the president was being a bully about it. This is politics. I mean, this is hardball, and we're playing softball. And so my belief is that, you know what? He's going to look at Indiana and say, look, we want to work together, but I need your help. And the state Senate failed to help today.
And then you had the Indiana lieutenant governor, and he lost his mind over this. Here, play this clip.
Do you want them primaried?
Yeah, I think we need to start going down that path. Listen, I've been, talking to people all over Indiana for years. I've been in the political world. I've been a delegate myself since 2016 at the conventions, the grassroots. I know that world well. And for years, the Senate has been known as the place where conservative bills from the Indiana House go to die. And so this isn't the first time that we've seen a weak Senate. This isn't the first time that we've seen something like this happen, where conservatives are shaking their heads saying, what is happening to the Senate? Now it's just on national display. And so we welcome that. We welcome Donald Trump Jr. to come in, and we're going to find some really good America First candidates to run in this next primary season.
Hey, Brett here. Allow me to interrupt for just 1 minute because I have major news that isn't getting nearly enough attention, and this may just be the biggest issue of our time. According to the Energy Information Administration, household electricity prices have risen 13% since Donald Trump took office, and experts say that this is just the beginning if current policies continue. As you all know, we've been doing these segments about the climate in our reports because, frankly, this is an issue that isn't getting talked about nearly enough. Across the country, climate pressures and the explosive growth of energy-hungry data centers are straining the grid, driving up rates, and hitting families hard. The New York Times reports that rural Republicans in deep red Georgia and Virginia are now voting for Democrats for the first time because their electric bills keep climbing while their elected officials greenlight these massive AI data centers without any local input. These facilities require require staggering amounts of power and water, and under Trump, the strategy has been to just accelerate data center expansion while simultaneously taking a sledgehammer to clean energy projects. That combination, growing demand and shrinking supply, pushes the costs directly onto consumers. Utilities are racing to build expensive new infrastructure, from nuclear projects to new transmission lines, and they're passing all those costs on through higher monthly bills to the people. Communities are pushing back, though. In Arizona and Indiana, citizen pressure forced Amazon and Google to abandon data center plans. Great job speaking out. In Georgia, voters flipped long-held Republican utility seats because they connected the dots between politics, climate policy, and their skyrocketing bills. But here's the main point. This issue is about to define national politics. Electricity is becoming the new price of eggs, if you will, and if leaders, regardless of political party, don't confront the impact of climate change, corporate subsidies, and unchecked AI expansion on household energy costs, this problem will only get worse. This is a crisis that is hiding in plain sight. We all see it with our own eyes, and it demands far more attention right now. So do this for me quickly. Let me know your thoughts on AI data centers, on the climate, on your electricity bills, and so on below, and let's continue to make noise. Okay, Ben, back to you.
So that's what was going on. Just so you see as well, though, you have some pretty decent state senators there in Indiana. Like here you have Indiana State Senator Greg Walker, and he was talking about all the threats and intimidation that he received. You had so many state senators get death threats as a result of Donald Trump's behavior before the vote took place. That's what Trump tried to pressure them over and over again, and these state senators did not bend. So here you have Indiana State Senator Greg Walker. He was crying and he goes, "How would I be able to look my daughter or granddaughter in the eyes if I back down to Trump's threats and intimidation?" This is how serious the threat campaign launched by Donald Trump was before this. Let's play this clip.
I held a small baby last night. I think she's about 5, 6 months old now. And her mother had her in her arms and she was asleep, and she's gorgeous, the baby, I mean. And she said, "Can I give you a hug?" And I said, "No, I want the baby." And I said, "Would you give her to me?" And I've held her before. And she said, "Yeah, hold her." And I began to cry as I thought about the future for that child, where we accept that intimidation is normal. Our rules can't even address it appropriately, but I think you understand the analogy I drew. And I shall refuse the offer for the sake of that child and the future of the state. And you're thinking, "Oh, it's easy. You already said you're not coming back. You can't be primaried." Well, some little seed in the back of my head says, "Go ahead and file." I think it'd be the dumbest thing I ever did in my life, but that's what my wife thought when I ran 20 years ago. "This is the stupidest thing you've ever done, and you're going to destroy her family." And I said, "Oh, it'll be okay." She wouldn't talk to me for 2 weeks. She became one of my greatest supporters because she said, "There's no reason you should be up there." I can't understand it. The political path that you took does not explain how it is you became a senator or how I've held the seat for 20 years. So she says, "I know you have a purpose." And I feel like today is that purpose. I may be wrong. All I got to work with is what I can read in the plain English.
And here's another Republican Indiana state senator. Here's what he had to say before the vote. Play this clip.
First of all, let me just ask you plainly, how will you vote on redistricting?
I've already came out last week that I am, in fact, a firm no. I've seen the maps. They were just released yesterday. And it just really further strengthens my opinion that this is really not the best way the state of Indiana needs to go.
What was it that prompted you to sort of stand up, speak out? You've been very vocal about this against the president's push to redistrict.
I think sometimes we confuse campaign rhetoric with the speech you use while you're actually in office. And while you get a little bit looser leash, so to speak, during a campaign season, now is the time to govern. And when it seems quite clear that we're isolating the population by the loose use of a slur, at some point you have to speak out and make sure that that's known.
Now, other things that went down at that disastrous Trump press conference in the Oval Office, Donald Trump said the following about Ukraine. Let's play it.
It doesn't really affect the United States unless it got out of control. A thing like that, as you probably know, because you are a professional, a real professional, which is something I don't say about a lot of other people, but you are a great professional. Things like this end up in third world wars. And I told that the other day. I said, everybody keeps playing games like this. You'll end up in a third world war. And we don't want to see that happen.
Donald Trump also claimed that he had the greatest economy in the first term. He said the economy was great. We all remember that great COVID economy, right? How great it was when he mishandled COVID. I'm being sarcastic, of course. And now Donald Trump says this term, the economy is the greatest ever in the history of the world. Play this clip.
We had the greatest economy in history in my first term. I think we're blowing it away right now. And again, prices were the highest they ever were. Inflation was the highest in 48 years, or I think ever. They say 48 years. The press says 48 years. I'll accept that, but I think it was the highest inflation we've ever had.
And then Donald Trump was asked about, he was asked this question from Fox by Ducey, who said, so is your campaign against Venezuela actually about drugs, or is it now about oil because you are now saying you're seizing their oil? Like the oil tanker and your people in your regime are saying that that's what you want to do. So what's this really about? Here, play this clip.
With Venezuela, now that we've seized this tanker, is the campaign against Venezuela still just about drugs, or is it now also about oil?
Well, it's about a lot of things, but one of the things it's about is the fact that they've allowed millions of people to come into our country from their prisons, from gangs, from drug dealers, and from mental institutions, probably proportionately more than anybody else. They came in from many countries. We're getting them out. We had 11,888 murderers come into our country. Many of them are from Venezuela.
And finally, you had Treasury Secretary Bessent, Scott Bessent. He said basically like, and they were there talking about some AI executive order. They're like, and now we will make sure we've got the competitive advantage over China. Dude, Donald Trump just gave the H200 chips to China for nothing. He just gave highly classified United States IP that we all said would cause a national security threat, just gave it to China. But go on, Besson, play this clip.
Scott, please.
Yes, sir. This is pass-fail. As you said, this is the biggest technological innovation in our country's history. We've seen the canals, we've seen the railroads, we've seen the utilities, we've seen the build out of the internet and the fiber, and now it's AI, and it is pass-fail versus China. We have the lead, we've got to maintain it, and it is also going to be the single biggest source of economic growth. But everything else we do, with our defense, there's no use in having a golden dome if China's AI can get around it. There's no use in spending all this money on defense. And the U.S. will remain the leader in this under President Trump's leadership. He has accelerated the growth.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think about that all. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. Thanks for watching. Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.